We parked at the visitor center to get an idea of the place. We are at Kolomoki Mounds State Park, and we're going to have a good time and check out this park. Let's have a look at this sign. Community events, promotions, yada, yada, yada. Right now the boat rentals are closed, but everything else is open. It's a beautiful late summer day. It's almost fall-like. So it's like bright and sunny, but it's not insanely hot, which is nice.
It's pretty hot.
It's just not oppressively hot.
No, it's hot.
There's a lot to see here.
It's not very humid.
Right, it's not humid. And the usual Plague World disclaimers.
Plague World.
It's good.
We have to pay, right?
Yes. There is a nifty gift shop. All the cool things you might expect. The visitor center is pretty standard. We do the obligatory walkthrough. Rain sticks.
Because I'm looking and reading it, it's all muscle memory. I get what you said.
Nifty propane stove.
One time we were at a park and we had a big fight because I was getting bit by mosquitoes, and I sent you in a shop like this to get me bug stuff.
And they have bug stuff.
And you were really mean about it.
That was Lake Blackshear.
Do you remember it?
4th of July celebration at Lake Blackshear during the day trip days.
Just so you know, it's not always like we get along. Sometimes there's arguments, but we cut those out of the final edit video.
You have no idea how much editing is involved.
Our love is real, but so are our quarrels.
T-shirts.
What I told them last night, I said the freezer is supposed to be deer season again, and y'all ain't like that.
Wood stickers.
I know that.
These artifacts are reproductions. There is a museum and a film, but
And we were talking about how sometimes there's rules you don't find out about until you're breaking them, which is like the most unpleasant way to find out about rules. I like rules that are clearly posted because I
She
like to be
does.
salty. And it might be a pride issue because I hate to be corrected, but it does kind of hurt your feelings when you're like videoing. It's like, no, you can't do that. And it's like, well, if I had known, if you would have posted a sign, we wouldn't have to have this conversation. I could just quietly put it in my pocket.
if you could have seen inside the thing, which I'm sure you can see online, this building is built literally into the side of an excavated burial mound. So when you go inside the museum, I'll show you after this I'll show you the outside of the building, but the inside of the burial mound where it's been excavated, and it shows the layers and pottery that was found in there and stuff like that. And they had 2 or 3 fake skeletons in there to show you where the people were buried.
Oh, did you ask the guy about the skeleton?
So after we came out noticing the complete absence of the skeletons in the burial mound, which again were not real, the answer I received as to why they had been removed was that, let's just say that people become very offended easily today. I said, say no more. So that's why they were taken out. So yeah, losers. Not them, but the people who complained about
People
that.
are so sensitive. I just don't know. I just don't know about their precious little feelings.
Or I don't know. I don't care about their precious little feelings, and I don't know about their precious little feelings.
I mean, I just think we're becoming a people that is not very hardy.
At all. So let me show you the outside of this mound. So over here, that is the exterior of the museum section.
And the museum is very nice, and the theater where you see the movie is very nice.
Yeah, they do a really good job with it. But here is the mound. And this is about as tall as it was. You can see that door right there is about that height. And literally just inside the wall is chopped off and excavated. So you can see the interior of this mound, which is neat. And here's...
Yeah, if you look at this photograph, you can kind of see how they had a shelter, I guess, while they were digging in it.
They found a lot of stuff, pottery and bones. This is in fact Mound E, which we were wondering about inside.
I really hope the skeletons are in a closet and they can come back out during a less sensitive age.
Hey, look at these rocks that were excavated. Alright. Stacey, would you like to tell what this is?
These rocks were removed during excavation of this mound. The Indians carried these several hundred yards away from a quarry. They give us an idea of how the mound was built. So there was a rock layer.
Yes. I believe this is what was referred to as the cap.
Yeah, so they had to like dig through that, I guess.
Taken directly out of there. And there would be more of them all on this side. Like this. That's from half of the mound. Sure is a pretty day. Now that Stacey has reminded me that we are outside and I don't have to wear the mask, there's a hut over here, which is, I guess, a recreation of the kind of huts that they would have lived in, complete with an amphitheater. Because educational demonstrations. So it looks like this community was here from the mid to late woodland period, around 350 AD to 1020 AD, about 670 years. Cultural influences. All of which, of course, is probably available online. The hut. Though a reproduction, shows the extent of these people's construction standards. Pretty neat. So this would have been a wood hut, I guess. Imagine many of these scattered across the landscape. Must have been impressive. And hieroglyphics? No, that's ignorant graffiti. We would have had a fire pit. Of course, the only thing left now is the mounds. It's been a long time since there have been any kind of dwellings here, anything like that. But it's cool. So we are heading for a nature trail, but there is a bathroom.
Looks like that bathroom might be locked.
It does look like that bathroom may be locked. That's fine, we'll be good. Kolomoki Mounds State Park has amenities including showers for the campsite. I will go first in the event of Joe No Shoulders.
Danger noodle.
Danger Noodle. It's a nice little trail. We've been on this before.
Those other folks just came off of it, so hopefully.
They were wearing tennis shoes. This is a pretty novice trail. It's pretty nice.
Unlike the Indians, the Hopewell people weren't driven out by European settlers, and in fact their disappearance is only theorized.
So these people were here before the creeks. And they either were the Mississippians.
No, they were before the Mississippi.
Okay, so they were before the Mississippians. So
In that movie.
the peoples of Kolomoki, and Kolomoki means land of the white oak, hence White Oak Trail. And there's a town nearby called White Oak. So White Oak is a derivative of Kolomoki, which is a pre-Indian word. Pretty cool.
This trail is not super challenging. There's a couple other trails we haven't tried yet. You can camp here. And if you get sweaty, you can take a shower. And that's my favorite thing. If you plan your day and you're like, man, I don't want to drive home all sweaty, you could take a shower here.
You could take a shower here, absolutely. In fact,
I have done in the past.
Stacy has taken a shower here before.
Brian has not.
Brian has not.
He wasn't into it. Look at the beauty of those colors. Look at how neon that vine is. Like, you would never think, if you saw this at Michael's in plastic, you'd be like, well, that doesn't look like nature, but it would.
It would, absolutely. And that is neon pink. Like a 1980s girl's tights.
Like a magenta.
And look at this, this turned over tree. Tree roots are a good place to look for artifacts. We're not going to because this is a state park.
We're just thankful that they're open, because during these COVID times, a lot of parks aren't open.
That's true.
National parks are not as open as the Georgia state parks are.
Which is a shame, because a state park or a national park is really a good place to social distance, because it's usually wide open. So it's kind of seems counterintuitive for them to be closed. By the way, these are pokeberries, these super pretty.
So you knew about these?
Yeah, these are pokeberries, and they are poisonous. But you can pick the leaves at a certain time of year, and you can put them through a process to get the poison out of them, and you can eat them like greens.
Look at this vine. I mean, it looks like a pole off a kid's swing set. I know I'm just getting like all crazy about these colors, but that does not look like a natural color, but it is. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
To me. Looks metal, but it's organic.
Trails marked, as they should be. A creek. There was plenty of water for the people who lived here. I'm just curious about the people who lived here, because they farmed for 400 years here. Did they rotate the crops? Did they have a problem with the earth becoming a dust bowl? Is that why they left? The guy in the film said that none of that seemed to be the case.
He said there was no disaster like a flood or a famine.
Yeah. They lived in a rich and beautiful environment. They also engaged in human sacrifice. When a chief died, chief priest, according to what they seem to have pieced together from digging scraps out of the ground and exhuming burials, that when a chief priest died, his wives and an unspecified number of men were strangled to death.
The wives weren't strangled.
Oh, they weren't?
No, the wives just were leading the procession.
Oh, okay. So they had some
They were like the
dudes.
chief mourners.
Yeah. And then some dudes were strangled to death and buried with the chief. And they brought offerings of bones and skulls.
Some of these religious practices could be pretty brutal.
The people that lived here are only known about by the accounts of very early explorers, which came along after they were gone or near to the end. They weren't wiped out. It wasn't famine or any kind of disaster. They just eventually left this area. But there was a, to the north and south of this area, there was huge populations of Indians, and this was like an isolated outpost. Just there's a main beam in the middle. We got some swampy stuff off to the sides.
These leaves look like barbecue potato chips.
Potato chips. It's really nice through here. Look at this.
We've been here a few times before, but today the weather conditions were especially delightful.
Out there I see some leaves starting to turn. It's late summer. This is a really nice little trail. It's easy to navigate.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not strenuous either. So you feel like you can tell somebody you hiked on Labor Day, but really you didn't even get sweaty.
There's a state park. It's a easily navigable trail, but it's also in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So there is wildlife, like that plaque back there that talked about bobcats. You could stumble across anything out here because there's really nothing to keep them away. This is just wide open territory. Limbo. Eastern fence lizard. Hey, little guy. It's South Georgia, and even though it's a cooler day today, it's still...
It was cool this morning. I had on a little flannel shirt. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a plaid shirt day. And no. It's not a plaid shirt day. It's a sweaty t-shirt day.
Lots of sandy soil here. Can't tell if it's a track. I think it's a human track.
We gone a mile yet?
No. Sassafras. Another plant tree you can make tea from the roots.
It's believed to have been the most populated community north of Mexico in its day. There's a burial mound here with 77 burials. It was built in stages. Ornate pottery was found including items of copper, iron, and pearl. We approached the end of this longer than depicted trail.
These guys are also around here. We saw one time at the top of the mound. That's the trail, the other end of the trail, which we went the other way. But We come out here near the foot of the big mound.
More intricate. Like these bird ones are like the pinnacle of their art. So we're at Mound C. I don't really even see it. I guess it's...
All right, so archaeologist William H. Sears excavated Mound C in 1949.
We don't really see it.
Yeah. It looks like he might have excavated it pretty thoroughly. Now, the only conclusion he drew from these excavations was that the mound was built by unloading baskets of dirt one at a time. Mound C is almost exactly the same size as Mound B, and it sits on the north side of the Temple Mound, while Mound B sits to the south. The function of this mound and its construction date are still unknown. Many pottery shreds were recovered during the excavations. However, the styles of pottery represented several periods: Swift Creek, Weedon Island, and Blakely Complicated stamped. This makes it hard for archaeologists to determine who constructed the mound and when. They did find these, which are in the museum, which we cannot show you because videography is not allowed. So I'm guessing Mound C was right here.
A little bit to the right, see?
Yeah, it kind of goes up. So I guess that must have been the mound. Because these mounds are not huge except for the main one. The mounds are actually pretty small.
It makes you wonder how many Indian mounds you're just sort of not noticing.
Oh yeah, they could be all over the place and we just don't know. Here is a turtle hole.
Fire ants. Right?
Could have been.
The turtle moved out and now it's an anthill. And Brian's going to get like stung.
I don't know. Can you see him?
Oh yeah, he's in there. Hey, buddy.
Temple Mound, hard nut to crack. They did a lot of excavations here trying to figure it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mound A, the Temple Mound.
October 1st, 1946, when they laid this concrete.
The Temple Mound is 57 feet high and is basically a flat-topped pyramid. In its day, it would have been covered with multiple colors of clay and no grass.
To get your heart pumping. It's been a while since I've run. I'm good. Thank you though. Oh. Bag's burning.
The Temple Mound is an impressive piece of work and gives unquestionably the best view of the site overlooking the place where the village once stood.
There's a slight rise there. I wonder if that's where the chief's hut sat. Seems unlikely it would still be here 1,000 years later, or however longer.
The southern half is 3 feet higher than the northern half. No evidence of structures has been found
You can
here.
look off the back side of the mound. One end is higher than the other. There's Stacey down there. Not looking up here. I've climbed this mountain a couple of times. I've been here, and it's pretty neat. One thing you don't want to do is climb this mountain if it looks like there's going to be a thunderstorm.
One thing is for sure, the Hopewell people picked a fantastic place for their Temple Mound, the oldest one in Georgia.
Well, don't want to keep Stacey waiting.
It's a lot easier getting down than up.
To give some perspective, I look down on these trees from the top of the mound.
Yeah, that was something they talked about in the movie, how when you're on the mound, you're higher than the trees.
Yeah.
And then you're in the realm of the birds.
Yeah.
And that was somehow significant.
You never know, that's a mound right there. Huh. It's hard to tell what people were thinking that long ago.
There is more to this place. We'll come back sometime.